Let's cover some weight painting techniques. I like to start by adding animation to the section I'm about to work on. So we could start with the left pelvic leg. And remember, because of the mirror tool, we can save a lot of time by just focusing on the left side. So let's go ahead and head over to frame 20 with auto key on, and we'll go ahead and lift the leg up and forward. And now we have a way to keep track of our progress. We'll turn off auto key. Let's go ahead and select our mesh and enter edit envelope mode. Okay, great. So now at this point, I'd like to see how far I can get with the capsule objects. They'll probably get us part of the way there. So as we start to adjust this, notice volumes being brought back. However, if we really want to get the results we need to work with either the weight table or our paintbrush. So at this point, I'll go ahead and enable the wireframe on this mesh with F4. And let's go ahead and grab our paintbrush and the options. So I like to start by blocking in weight to get the volume there roughly, and then we could start to smooth deformations by decreasing our strength. So in order to block in weight, we'll want to set the strength to 1, and we could also set our brush to a fast fall off. Okay, great. So at this point, with the femur selected, and feel free to select it from your bones list if you'd like. So you have a few ways, again, grabbing the capsule or grabbing it from the list. But now as we start to paint, notice it's not quite blocking in the weight as we'd expect. The reason why is because by default, paint blend weights is active, so we'll want to uncheck that. And now we can go in and start to bring volume back. Remember, for areas that are tough to paint, we have added animation, so we'll just need to continue adjusting our timeline to get to those tougher spots. So again, we just spend the time roughing these areas in. Let's go ahead and move around and get to the side again. Paint a few of these points. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. We'll scrub, and notice we have much better volume now. Yes, we have a lot of creases also, but keep in mind when we add a turbo smooth to this, those creases might actually work out in our favor. But once we have what we like, it's then just a matter of using the mirror tool. So I'll go ahead and turn off the weight brush, close out our options, and enter mirror mode. Now initially we'll see a lot of red verts, and that's simply because Max doesn't quite know what to do with those points, being that our mesh isn't perfectly symmetrical. You can see that the horse's hair has been blocked into the mesh, but only on one half, and that's just to give us a guide. So in order to get a more accurate mirror, we'd need to adjust our mirror threshold. So I like to increase this, and as we do, you can see that Max is starting to get more accurate with our mirror. So let's go ahead and set this to about a value of 2. And now at this point, we can go ahead and mirror across from green verts, the sides that we have worked on, to our blue verts. So that's this choice here. And now let's go ahead and check this out. We will exit edit envelope mode, grab our right leg, and notice Max has helped us to save a ton of time. Now keep in mind it isn't as accurate always. There might be a few spots, let's say around the tail, that we'd have to reweight afterwards, and also around the head, again because our character is slightly asymmetrical. So with that said, what I like to do is just work on the areas first that we know will mirror over just fine. That would be the legs and also the vertebrae. And then at that point, we can then start to fix up those minor issues. All right, let's also take a look at the scapula. I'll go ahead and grab the control object we've added animation to. I'll go ahead and Alt-right click and delete the selected animation. All right, next we'll grab our scapula control and we'll add some more animation here. We'll just bring our object forward. All right, so you can see a lot of pulling that really should have some influence around the vertebrae. And then around the front of the thorax, this muscle here that slides along with the scapula will need more volume here. It's a large muscle, and we'll need to make sure that we have that muscle visible in our deformations. So at this point, we can go ahead and turn off auto key, grab our mesh, enter edit envelope mode, grab the scapula, and head over back to our paintbrush. So going back to our options, now we can set our strength to 1. We don't have to set our brush to a smooth interpolation. We have that choice, but it's not a big deal at all. So now, scrubbing back and forth just to get an idea of how we should paint this, we can then start to add more volume. So we want a nice crease around the neck and around the front of the thorax as this muscle slides forward. So we'll make sure that those points pull forward more. Okay, much better. And we want a round shape. It's always a good idea to study motion reference just to make sure that we get the shape we need. And there are also corrective shapes that we can work with. We'll take a look at how we can apply corrective shapes and how we can automate their triggering in the following lesson. So that looks pretty good. And again, this looks kind of rough, but keep in mind when we smooth out our mesh, we may get exactly what we want. So I kind of like what I'm seeing here. We would want to tweak the points around the vertebrae. So what I'll do is go ahead and exit our paint tool, and we can grab vertebrae bone, let's say vertebrae H. And now we can go in and start to paint to it, again with a very low influence. So that will start to pull these points back. All right, great. So we'll want to paint on the side and also underneath, right in the very center. And as we keep in mind our topology, that will help us to get some really nice results. So we don't want to just click anywhere. We want to keep track of our mesh's edge flow. So notice that looks much better. Let's go ahead and scrub forward. Okay, great. So again, there's probably more influence that we can paint back to the vertebrae bones. And we don't want to just paint to this selected influence. There are other vertebrae objects that we'll need to paint to get exactly what we need. But this is a great start. All right, great. So in this lesson, we covered a few paint weight techniques, adding animation using the mirror mode, and then also refining with a very low intensity until we ultimately have some very nice deformations. So that's basically the steps I use to take care of the horse. Now in the next lesson, we're going to take a look at an issue that we'll see in the neck, and no amount of painting weights would fix it. So instead what we do is work with a morph target, and then we can, after that morph target is finished, plug that into our rig system to have it trigger automatically as the neck moves. So it's going to be a really exciting topic we'll cover in our last lesson.